Mm, Present the screen. Have you listened to the last week lectures?
Yes, ma'am. About three videos I watched.
Okay. So, last week it was mainly regarding the cardiovascular system. And do you remember what we have studied, learned in the week 9?
Weakment was based on the sense organs, the eyes.
Yeah, I specifically I. Before that, we have also learned olfaction, then ears, everything. So now we have almost done with the neural system and senses and have came to cardiovascular system. So as we all know that cardiovascular mainly consists of what is the major organ in cardiovascular system?
Heart,
Yeah. So what is the function of heart?
to pump blood.
Yeah. Not only pump blood, mainly it's pump blood, but it can even so for pumping blood, the like carbon dioxide, not purified blood, impure blood can be uh, go to lungs from the heart only. So whenever all the like purification process for all blood needs to get purified, first blood needs to reach heart, then heart will deliver the blood again to lungs. In the lungs, it will get purified. After that, it will come back to the heart again. So that is also happening in the heart. So first week it was mainly regarding the structure of the heart. So how many chambers do heart have?
4.
What are those?
Right auricle, left auricle, right ventricle, and left ventricle.
Yeah. So all the and like what are the blood vessels that gives blood to the heart?
Superior and inferior vena cava,
Generally,
and
it is called as
pulmonary
veins. Yeah,
vein.
veins. So superior and inferior vena cava. Superior vena cava from the upper part of the body collects the blood, and the inferior from the lower part. So finally, it will reach in which part of the heart, which chamber of the heart?
Right auricle.
So in the first, it reaches in the right auricle. Then from the right auricle, it will go to the right ventricle. Right ventricle. After right ventricle, where will it go? Now also it is carbon dioxide mixed blood,
It
not
will go to the
oxygen.
lungs.
Yeah, so it will go to the lungs through which artery?
Pulmonary artery.
Okay, so pulmonary artery is the only artery that is carrying carbon
Deoxygenated
dioxide,
blood.
uh, deoxygenated blood. So then it will reach the lungs. In lungs, we know there are so many alveoli, and always we are breathing. So we are taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide. So through those process, simple diffusion, what will these vessels can take up, give back the carbon dioxide there and take up oxygen. So after taking oxygen, which vessel will again pump the oxygenated blood to which part of the heart?
The pulmonary vein will pump it to the right, left auricle.
Yeah. Hi Kushbu, we just started, okay? So what will happen? The pulmonary vein will deliver the oxygenated blood to the left auricle. So again, pulmonary vein is the only vein that carries oxygenated blood. All other vein carries always deoxygenated blood. So thus now the blood is in the left auricle, right? Now the blood is like purified blood is in the left auricle. From the left auricle, it can go to
Left ventricle.
Yeah, and after that, it will leave through the aorta or the biggest artery to again to all the body tissue wherever the oxygen needed, right? So this is the simple procedure of blood transfer or blood pumping that is happening in the heart. But this is not simple. When we say like this, we feel like it's simple. Yeah. So this was the first introduction and also the closed loop system of blood flow. Why we are calling our blood circulation as closed loop system?
Because the blood flows through blood vessels.
Okay, is it the reason? Okay, then just go and check why it is calling as closed loop system. And how you guys are looking into the activity questions? Like in every lectures, you can see na the activity question. Okay, if we have time, then we'll come back and go through the activity questions also. We'll try to discuss it today. So in the first lecture, it was mainly regarding the general structure and function of the heart. Then in the second lecture also, it was the continuation of structure of the heart. But some more thing we have learned. We have how many types of cell systems are present in the heart? Any idea? Basically, it was, I think, third lecture he was telling about that.
5 types.
Okay, what are those?
Cardiac myocytes,
Yeah,
pacemaker cells,
yeah,
stem cells,
uh,
endothelial cells, and cells which makes the valve.
yeah, very good. So there are five types of main types of cells present. And then the second lecture mainly we were discussing regarding Sir was teaching regarding the time events in the heart. So as we learned just now, first the blood will reach in the right auricle, then to the right ventricle. So the event will start in the right auricle, then to the so we have now, as you said, we have some types of cells called cardiomyocytes and pacemaker cells also. So what is this pacemaker cells function in the heart? Why we need a pacemaker cell?
To generate that electrical activity.
Yeah. So if heart was also like another organ, just brain is mainly regulating the heart, what would have happened? I think this was one of the activity question.
Then it should wait for the neural signal to generate the activity.
Yeah, it will again take some time, right? So that's why hard. Like if you're thinking, we'll feel like very how all these things are this much regulated and coordinated. It's like a yeah. Anyway, it's all these things are really coordinated. So we have the pacemaker system also. So where is the first initiation point in the pacemaker cells? How many, like, what is the initial point?
SA node.
Yeah. So sinoatrial node will start and it will give the information first to the AV node. AV node stands for anterior ventral node. SA node full form is sinoarterial node. So sinoarterial node will start the electrical activity and it will first give to the anterior ventral node. Then anterior ventral node will give it to the bundle of His. Bundle of His will deliver it to the Purkinje fibers. So the most interesting things is even though there are four events, if you are plotting a graph, we can see that all these events are like not like separate plots. Like one is merged with the other. E1 is merged with E2 and E2 is merged with E3, 3 is merged with E4. So multiple merging we can be seen here. So there are generally, if you are checking in the heart, we can see two types of system. One is the conduction system and another is a contraction system. So basically, what is conduction system? Conduction. That is a pacemaker
The
cell.
pacemaker cells.
Yeah. So the pacemaker cells generally which are the electrically active cells. So they are the conduction system, and then these system can activate the contraction system or the cardiomyocyte inside the heart, which are the muscle that can be seen inside the heart. So this can be also called as, since electrical activity is activating the mechanical activity. So electromechanical, what sir coined a term for that. He didn't coin, like he told us about a term for that. Electromechanical. Do you remember? Electromechanical conduction, right? Electrical activity is going and activating the mechanical conduction or the activating cardiomyocyte inside the heart. So thus everything is well coordinated and well merged also. So it is does not mean that even though there are four separate events, these four events are happening separately. These four events are happening in a merged form. So that is about the second lecture mainly. Then it was regarding the third lecture. So in third lecture, it was mainly regarding conduction circuit. So as we said now, we know now there are pacemaker cells, right? So what is the basis of action potential? What is the difference of cardiomyocyte from a normal skeletal muscle? Is there any difference?
The basic resting potential is different.
Yeah, so if the resting membrane potential is minus 40, which means like lesser than the minus 70, right? So what is the advantage of this thing? If it is
It
minus
can
40,
easily shoot up above zero
yeah, that will be spontaneous. So why the pacemaker cells are spontaneous? Because the spontaneous activity is coming due to the its lowest resting membrane potential. And so that is about the pacemaker cells. But again, if we are going and checking in the heart, we can see majorly cardiomyocyte cell, right? So if you are checking the cardiomyocyte, its resting membrane potential is almost minus 70 to minus 80 only. But the behavior of action potential or the peak that is coming is literally different from the uh, neuron action potential. Neuron action potential also we know that it generally start from minus 70, but that are continuous, like spontaneous as that of the pacemaker cells. But in the cardiomyocyte, there is a latent period coming. So what is the reason for that latent period?
because of the calcium ions.
Yeah. So usually here, sarcoplasmic reticulum is again playing a major role, and like all other processes are similar to that of the neuron action potential, but there is a Ca2 plus exit is happening. So that time there is a latent phase created. So why? What is the need for the latent phase? I'm sorry, here electricity has gone.
Is it to provide rest to the heart muscle?
Yeah, it will provide a rest to the, since nothing can continuously work now. If so, it will actually give a rest phase for the heart cells. So the latent period or Ca2 plus output, that phase is actually needed in the cardiomyocyte. And also, do you know about the speed, like the action potential, how much time to it will take to generate, which is faster one if you are comparing neuron versus skeletal muscle versus cardiomyocyte?
Cardiac cells has the highest value.
How much?
I don't know about the value, ma'am.
Yeah, it is around 200 to 350 millisecond. while our neuron or the others are like around 4 to 5 millisecond or 2 millisecond. So this is that much shorter. And here in the latent, since due to that latent period, that time is that much higher in the cardiomyocyte. It's around 200 to 250, something in that range. So that is about mainly regarding the third lecture, I guess. And also we discussed what are the different types of cells that can be seen in the heart also. So mainly there are 5 types of cell. Then in the fourth week, it was mainly regarding the conclusion of all that thing that we have learned in the first 3 weeks. So basically heart and its working efficiency, then how the structure of heart and cardiovascular system. Mainly, it was a revision to the first 3 lectures. So, do we have a closed circuit system or open circuit system?
Closed circuit.
Why? Now the answer is yeah, correctly. The blood is actually enclosed inside the blood vessel and it's flowing properly. So that's why it's closed circuit system. Then, do you have any other answers for the first question that I said? So, what is closed loop system?
It starts and ends at the same point, like a loop.
So this is a loop, like it has act as a circle, right? Starting from the vena cava to right auricle to right ventricle, then to the lungs, after to left auricle, then to left ventricle, then again to the tissues. So from again to vena cava, so it's like a closed loop. That's why closed loop we call it as. And whenever we say it's closed circuit, that means the bloods are like not openly circulated. It is within some particular vessels and it is flowing arranged in such a way. So then we also he also like discussed regarding the contractile systems and conducting systems. So like as a revision for the first 3 weeks, then spread of electrical impulse in conduction system. So we also go through all this. So always remember the pacemaker system also starting from SA node to AV node to bundle of His to Purkinje fibers. And these events are merged also. And remember about the action potential thing, how cardiomyocyte action potential is different. So all these things, these are important things. So, and in the fifth week, again, it was like a revision to all those things. But the interesting thing or new thing he told about are especially the importance of EKG. So, what is EKG? EKG. Did you guys any time checked your EKG? So, EKG stands for electrocardiogram. So this is the graph, the EKG. So what did it do? The our heart have like auricle and ventricle, right? So there will be. So we'll discuss more about this in the question. Actually, in one question, I have like put more detailedly what is happening. So what is happening? This wave, if you are checking, we can see this. The shorter wave is starting point is P wave. Then that peak is known as QRS, and the remaining the third one is called as T wave. So P wave is there, QRS is there, T wave is there, and each this P wave, QRS, and T signifies the like the arterial systole and diastolic process that is happening in the heart. Okay, so whenever we have some, if someone is like having some troubles, so doctor will tell you to go and check the ECG. So if the ECG graph is not like this and there is some deviation, we can say that, oh, there is some problem going on. So the patient urgently needs to be taken care of that. Especially for heart attack, everything. The first thing they used to do is they will start tell you to check the ECG. So that was mainly regarding. Then we also said the comparison of action potential between pacemaker cell and work cell, right? So pacemaker cell, we said, what is the difference? The resting membrane potential is minus 40, and it's always spontaneous. But in the cardiomyocyte, there is a latent period coming due to the Ca2 plus activity. So now we'll start discussing question. So I will read the question, then you can type the answer in the chat box. Okay. Dash begins slightly before the ventricular systole. So now we'll discuss this. Okay. P wave, QRS wave, R wave, T wave. Okay, Kushbu texted. Arya and Arati. It's fine if you don't know also. We'll discuss in it. Arya also texted. Arati. Okay. Then answer is QRS wave. Why? Because if you are reading this thing, we can clearly see. So the end point of the P wave depolarization is the start point of the arterial stage of the systole. So P wave ending means, which means that depolarization is happened, or depolarization happened means ion channels opened and started the inflow of sodium, right? Which means that systole is happening, or the arteries are going to pump, contract. So then the ventricular stage of systole begins. So artery systole happened at the same. That's why we told it is merged process. At the same time, the ventricle will start undergoing contraction. The blood get pumped. Whatever the blood get pumped into the ventricle, it will also start contracting for the pumping into the next to the lens, right? So the ventricular stage of systole begins at the R peak of the QRS wave. It is not starting at Q, it is starting at the peak stage, R stage. So the question was dash begins slightly before the ventricular systole. So the ventricular systole is happening during the QRS wave. That's why correct answer is QRS. Then what is the remaining T wave? T wave is mainly the ventricular contraction, after which the ventricular relaxation begins. So in the QRS time, ventricular systole actually happened. Now the blood pumped into again. So now a contraction happened. So it needs to come back to the normal position again, right? So the relaxation or diastole will start beginning. So P wave for arterial systole, QRS for ventricular systole, and T wave for ventricular diastole. So please keep this in mind, okay? Don't forget. Any doubts among these four? Can we go to the next question?
Ma'am, when does this atrium will undergo diastole?
That is also happening like it. That's what we said. It's a merged process. So after arteries like pump into the ventricles, arteries will start undergoing relaxation only. But at the same time itself, these two other processes are also happening. So if you are checking the electrical activity or the difference between electrical field in different point, we can see these three wave only. So that's why we are not like specifically saying arteries are going. So in the when the just after the arteries pump total blood, arteries will start undergoing diastole. At the same time, actually the ventricular systole followed by diastole is also happening. So it's followed by
Okay, ma'am.
some time change, 0.1 second, 0.5 seconds. So that much only.
Okay, ma'am.
So this is also you guys can just guess, okay? That is an instrument that records by the dash the duration of the interval between the successive QRS complexes in the electrocardiogram. So just remember PQRS. QRS is the most like highest peak in that four wave, right? P and T wave are shorter, and QRS we can see it's a longer peak. So the question is, what is the instrument that record the duration of interval between successive QRS complex? Then go and check the option. So you can cut down some option easily. Then try to answer. Okay, Kushbu said C, Arya said D. Okay, why did you say D? Answer is correct. Cardio tactometer is the instrument. That is correct. So Kushbu is saying height. Arya is saying width, right? So let us see. So actually, answer is height. That's what I said. It's QRS wave, right? So QRS wave is the most higher peak. So higher peak means, and also they are telling it in the question that duration of the interval between the successive QRS complexes, which means that these are the instrument that basically measures the height of the successive spikes. So what is the height? That is basically they measure the height of the QRS peaks. So correct answer is C. Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So next question is, okay. don't don't worry after seeing such a lengthy question. Just take time to read it slowly. We'll discuss also it slowly. This is also like some extra level question, but I will when we discuss the answers, will I will give the link in the like below, so you can go and read that paper. So it's just an extra information. You guys read the question and start telling what is the correct options. I hope these are visible only. Whenever you guys read with the question and decided the option, then start replying. Then we'll answer, discuss the answers. It's mainly regarding the cardiac activities in the marine mammal. Is Kushbu? Okay, sorry. I also just see. Okay, just consider option A, option C, and option D. Answer is in that. Oh, sorry. You guys anyway see the answer, na? So take your time. Okay. So if you're checking any like questions like this, generally, some, like mostly, if this is like such a detailed question with so many different options, not in CSIR level. In CSIR level exam, definitely they will give will like biggest option, and maybe that is also tricky. Some options can be incorrect, but so generally, if you are giving and checking like generally like almost all option and true. If you are checking for long question and long option answer. So it is just a generalized thing, but don't expect that thing in the exam. So be prepared, like study everything and be confident whatever you have learning. Then we can easily attempt such question. So can I discuss? Are you done with reading question and finding answers? Kushbu replied. Arya and Arati. So let's see. This is actually from this paper, okay? You can go and easily find this extreme bradycardia and trachycardia in the world's largest animal. So just go and read this thing. So you will easily get to know all the things, whatever they are saying. So what is happening in such mammals, whenever they are taking a dive, right? So they will conserve, uh, they need to conserve the oxygen. So which means their heart rate will be very less than usual. So such a, if the heartbeat is lesser than usual, that condition is known as um, bradycardia. Okay. So, and if the in the opposite case, if the heart rate is very higher than the normal, then it is called as brachycardia. So the first option is the decrease in heart rate are associated with the cardiovascular dive response in marine mammals, results in heart rate during dives that are lower than resting values, whereas at the sea surface, the heart rates are higher. So this is experimentally proved. Whenever they take dive, the heart rate is getting low, and whenever they come back to the sea surface, it's again the heart rates are very higher. So this is how experimentally proved. Then the option B is a slower heart rate during dives decreases oxygen delivery to tissues and slows the overall depletion of blood oxygen stores while also decreasing the oxygen consumed by heart itself. So why they are why that what is the need of slower heart rate during dive? That is the reason, because it decreases the oxygen delivery and basically they are storing the oxygen. Then uh, the hypothesis that exercise modulates the dive response and increases heart rate during a dive is particularly relevant to the extreme nature of blue whale because feeding lunges have an estimated metabolic rate of 50 times the basal value. So in the blue whale case, that's why you can see the even the title of that journal is extreme in world's largest animal, right? So how the blue whale is responding to all the brachycardia and trachycardia, and earlier people used to believe that the exercise is like having a role in regulating this heart rate and all those things. So that is a hypothesis. Then what is lunges? Do you know what is lunge? Lunge is the action of that before the diving, the thrust we are giving before diving. That is called as lunge. So then exercise, depth, and anticipatory control have been postulated to modify heart rate during the dive responses via the autonomic nervous system. Increased heart rate with increases may occur via a withdrawal of parasympathetic or increased sympathetic tone. Lung compression during descent and expansion during ascent may also contribute to a decrease or increase, respectively, in heart rate via pulmonary stretch receptor. So this is basically the different system, sympathetic system, parasympathetic system, and also Sar also did not discuss it in the cardio this last week. He also mentioned that he will discuss about this system in the next week, I guess. But yeah, you guys just go to know more about the system in the next week. Then we'll better understand what are they saying. But I have a request to go and read this article, okay? Extreme bradycardia and brachycardia in the world's largest animal. Basically, all the option given there is true. A, B, C, D, and E are true. Okay. Um, so we'll move ahead to the next question. So now you can understand this, right? That is the advantage of answering, like reading that question. So what is bradycardia? Is dash than normal heart rate. Yeah. Huh. Obviously, it is B, right? So I don't need to give any explanation for that now. And what is the opposite? So generally, what is the normal heart rate of a human being? In the last lecture, he is telling that. Also, he said how many ml blood we are pumping per minute. What is the cardiac cycle? About all those things.
72 beats per minute.
Yeah. So if it is less than 60, then that condition is known as bradycardia. Okay. And if it is too much high, it is called as tachycardia. And I don't know what is the limit for that. So next question is this, we have seen the importance of this question, right? In all related action potential, the last waves will be hyperpolarization. And hyperpolarization is always happening due to the sodium potassium pump. So whenever there is a sodium potassium pump, you can expect this question also. Question is sodium potassium pump exchanges dash potassium in replacement of dash number of sodium. I know you guys are masters in this question now. We have discussed it multiple times. So please say any answer. Yeah, already answered. I know you guys are too smart. So the correct answer is 2 potassium in replacement of 3 sodium. So what will be the general mistake you guys can make? Suddenly seeing 3 2, you guys can go and take 3 2. But just check what is potassium is always 2 and sodium is always 3 passage through the sodium potassium pump. Huh. This is regarding our normal blood pressure. But this is 120 mmHg and 80 mmHg denote. Is it systolic pressure, systolic pressure, systolic pressure, diastolic pressure, diastolic pressure, systolic pressure, or both are diastolic pressure? Yeah, correct answer is systolic pressure and diastolic pressure. Why systolic pressure is higher than diastolic pressure?
Because the heart needs to pump the
Ah,
blood against gravity.
it is the contraction process. The systole means contraction, diastole means relaxation. So we can even from the name indicates that the as more the force heart is giving, the more will be the pressure also. So that's why systolic is always higher than the diastolic. So now, this is simple mathematics. If heart rate is 72 per minute, duration of a cardiac cycle is. Simple mathematics. What is the answer? Can you explain, Kushbu, how did you got that answer? In a minute, how many seconds are there?
60.
Yeah, so 72 beats per minute, right? So in 60 seconds, there are 72 beats. So for 1 second, 60 by 72, which is 0.833. So what will be the correct answer?
Option
Yeah. And here also, I have given the time for. Earlier we were telling, right? Arterial systole is generally 0.1 and diastole is 0.7. That's why it's a longer duration. So it is happening actually with these three. If you are combining these two, the actually the phase of this is happening. So that's why in the PQRS T wave, P denote arterial systole initiation, QRS is denoting the ventricular systole time, and ventricular diastole is again the T wave initiation. And during this time, actually arterial diastole is also happening. Next question. The difference between action potential generated in cardiac and skeletal muscle is that after the onset of action potential, the permeability of dash decreases fivefold in dash. Difference between cardiac and skeletal muscle. So we have seen that in the cardiac muscle, there is a latent period. For that needs to started, something needs to open. If that thing needs to open, something needs to be closed also, right? Or get reduced. So what is that ion and where is it happening? That is the question. Okay, 647. I think you guys told sodium and cardias. Okay, can anyone explain why? Is there any explanation?
The sodium channel has to close for the entry of calcium ions.
Hmm. Correct answer is C. So, yeah, just read through the all the explanation that I have written. Then, if you have any doubt, I will explain. There are four phases: phase 0, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4, right? Phase 2 is the Plato phase. So, in the Plato phase, actually Ca2 plus is coming, playing a major role. So, what is happening? Just read through the explanation. Question was after the onset of action potential. The permeability of dash decreases fivefold in dash. So just action potential is starting to begin, right? Action potential starting to begin means sodium channel should be open. Then only the ions can be entering and all the changes can happen. Because during the onset of action potential, but something needs to be closed that time. So what should decreases? That's why it is written membrane permeability to potassium decreases and that time fast channels open. So that's why onset is important there. So therefore correct answer is potassium. And Five-fold decrease is happening in cardiac muscle membrane. Read it. Then if you have done with reading, then just let me know. Okay. Now you guys read through the option. Sorry, explanation. You understand what is happening? Definitely, there can be a doubt. What is the difference then between the cardiac muscle and the skeletal muscle, right? So this is such a way that the five-fold change is actually happening in the cardiac muscle membrane. Can I go to the next question? Okay. And the slide is available in the site also, I guess. So you guys can anytime go and check back also. So can I go to the next question?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand? Do I need to explain again?
Ma'am, can you explain this once again?
Yeah, yeah. So what is happening? The question is difference between action potential generated in cardiac and skeletal muscle is that after the onset of action potential, so after the onset of action potential, the permeability of dash decreases fivefold in dash, right? So just onset, just action potential started. Action potential started means sodium will close or sodium will be open?
It will be open.
Right. So anyway, option cannot be sodium, and you are also known as the change. So actually, just after the onset of action potential, potassium should go below, right? So the potassium concentration is getting low, and the fivefold is decrease is happening. So then just compare with the option. So answer is potassium. Then where it is happening, the decrease is happening for potassium. Then the option where skeletal muscle membrane and cardiac muscle membrane. Since skeletal muscle membrane and cardiac muscle membrane, there is difference in the action potential generation Ca2 plus open. There are two additional phases. So due to all this nature, the fivefold decrease is happening actually in the cardiac muscle membrane only. So what will happen now? Potassium decreased, and due to the start of action potential, which channel should open? Sodium channel should open. That is the phase 1, right? So phase 0, potassium closes. Phase 1, sodium channel open. And phase 2 will be the latent period. For the latent period, which ion needs to come into play a major role?
Calcium.
Calcium. So then calcium will be active. Then by the end of the calcium, by the end of the phase 2, it's written, right? The plateau is primarily maintained by an inward sodium current also. Sodium flows into the cell through the sodium calcium exchanger. So now up to this time we have heard only sodium potassium exchanger. Now in the cardiac muscle only we can like sodium calcium exchanger is playing a role there. The exchanger transfers three sodium ions into the cell in exchange for one calcium ion flowing out, and so produces a net inward positive current there. So as calcium channel inactivate towards the end of the plateau phase, and by the end of the plateau phase, if it needs to come back to the normal position, again calcium needs to go back, right? So that's why it said as calcium channels inactivate towards the end of the plateau phase, an inward potassium current produces the repolarization. So basically only difference is that phase 2 for the latent period, that is mainly due to the calcium, and sodium ions are also playing a major role there due to the sodium calcium exchange. And by towards the end, what is happening? Phase 3 needs to occur. For that again potassium needs to come, right? It is bringing back. Now action potential is done. The system needs to come back to the normal position, or the relaxation should start to happen. So in the repolarization process, which ion will again come into play a major role? Potassium. Then again the hyperpolarization process. What is the pump that will be opened that time for hyperpolarization to occur? Just before now we discussed, right? To become more negative. Potassium channel will come make it to negative, right? Hyperpolarization means becoming more negative. So that is happened due to which channels? Just we discussed this question. In neurons also we learned the same thing only. This question. Sorry. This one. What are these? Okay, why this is so confusion? So, okay, I will tell once more time. In cardiac muscle, the difference is there is a latent period. So, there is such an additional arrangement of Ca2 plus channel there. So, first in phase 0, potassium will decrease very much, about almost fivefold decrease. Then sodium channels will open, action potential started. So, phase 1 will sodium channels will be open, which is making that the inside of the membrane or the net charge of the membrane is becoming positive, right? Then the phase 2 or the plateau phase will happen due to the calcium ion channels. So the sodium and calcium exchanger will bring back to the change to the normal. Then repolarization will start happening due to the potassium channels. But what will happen? Potassium is continuously open. So potassium starts coming and it was started to bringing back the change to normal. But if the potassium is open for a long time, it will become more negative. It is known as hyperpolarization. And from the hyperpolarization, if it's bring back to again to the normal, what ion should open? Again, sodium ion needs to become. That times, not the sodium ion channel is not open, but sodium potassium pump will be open. Did you understand what are all those ions and how the plate phase is maintained? Okay. So I need to explain again. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So where is the sodium potassium pump playing major role?
Make it hyperpolarized.
After hyperpolarization.
To bring it back to the normal state.
Yeah. Hyperpolarization is due to the potassium channels only. Okay. Now next question is again. Excess in dash in extracellular fluid causes the heart to become dilated and heart rate dash. RSC. Okay. Khushbu, Arati. Okay. Can I discuss the question? Sorry, answer. Khushbu is saying option. Okay. So correct answer is option B. Excess. So usually in extracellular fluid, which ion is more? Potassium or sodium? Extracellular fluid. Usual case I am asking.
Sodium.
Yeah. So now the question is excess in dash fluid causes heart to become dilated and heart rate dash, right? So correct answer is B. Potassium. If potassium is high in extracellular fluid means that will be which phase? So usually potassium is higher in the inside. Whenever the action potential starts happening, sodium starts entering inside the cell only. What will happen?
Depolarization.
Depolarization is happened. Now more sodium. But the question is now potassium got increased in the extracellular fluid. Somehow potassium is very much increased in the extracellular fluid. So uh, which will result in so the easiest way for answering this question is first let's see heart to become dilated and heart rate. So if heart is becoming dilated, heart rate will slow or fasten up. Hmm? Dilation, during dilation, heart rate will be slower or faster.
Slows.
Yes. So the second answer you got, it will be slows. Suppose then we if we are checking sodium and slows. So higher sodium means higher excess sodium in outside means it's normal condition only, right? Right. So the action potential is happening and the contraction should happen. Like if it's like the normal thing. So what should be the option? We know, and second answer is loss. And then you try to answer like option by option. So it's not compulsory to always start from the first option to second option. You can also try to start answering from second to first also, right? Like that you can answer. So the correct answer is potassium. Whenever potassium is higher in the extracellular fluid, what will happen? It causes the heart to become dilated and heart rate will slows down. So it's a disorder part. Um, this also he explained this question in the last week, lecture 5. It's a direct question. If you have listened to the last lecture, you can answer this. What are the receptors that regulate calcium movement in cardiac muscle? Yeah, I know you, Arya, you didn't listen to that lecture, but you can guess. Okay. Uh, So correct answer is A only, ryanodine and DHPRR. So these are the two receptors that helps in the calcium movement inside cardiac muscles. Okay, now we will 1 minute. Give me some time. We have discussed till this question. Now we'll discuss the last week assignment solution. Okay, answer is visible. 1 minute. Yeah. Anyway, answer is visible for this, so we can just discuss, and it's a easy question. I know you guys know the answer. So question was, which of the following is not a part of the eye? Right, retina and cornea, iris. Do you guys remember? They all these three are parts of the eyes. So glomerulus is a part of nephron. So nephron have majorly two parts: the glomerulus or Bowman's capsule part, and the remaining part is called as tubular part. So glomerulus is a part of kidney. Next question is the area from which the optic nerve leaves the retina is called. What is answer? Yeah. Correct answer is blind spot only. Then which part of the eye is majorly donated? Yeah, cornea. That also we discussed in the last week. Cornea is the part of the eye that is majorly donated. Cataract is the cloudiness of which part inside the eye? Aqueous humor, ciliary muscle, lens, or vitreous humor? Yeah, lens. Very good. Next is person with 20/50 vision has myopia, hypermetropia, both A and B. Okay, why? That is another name of myopia. Yeah. So what is happening? Can we see which like which distant objects and we cannot see which distant object?
Nearby objects can be seen, but far away objects cannot be.
Yeah. So this 20/30 means like already there is some problem in the vision, right? So 20 feet away you can read letters. Whatever they are seeing in the 30 feet, they can see like around away from 20/50. So their eyes have some problem. So only they can look up to the clear objects, nearby objects clearly, and the distant objects will be very blurry. So such a condition is known as myopia. Yeah, the focal length of the lens increases when ciliary muscles contract or are strained, relax. Focal length of the lens is fixed. Focal length of the lens does not depend on the ciliary muscle. It depends on the size of the retina. But is the correct option. Okay. Yeah, correct answer is B. Why? We have discussed earlier also, right? If focal length needs to be increased, ciliary muscle should relax. And if it's happening, ciliary muscle is contracting, means focal length is decreasing. Opposite. So for distant objects, ciliary muscles relax. Then this decrease in curvature of the lens will be corresponds to a longer focal length. So what are the objects that we want to see? If we want to see the shorter, like nearby object or longer object, according to that, ciliary muscle will contract and relax. And by that, we can also see, able to see what objects we need to see, and lens will form an image. So according to all these things, focal length will be regulated. Rods detect dash and cones detect dash. Rods and cones. Yeah, correct answer is D. Intensity and color. We have three types of cones, right? That's why we can see like multiple colors. What are these three colors that we can detect?
Red, blue, and green.
In the dark, photoreceptor is depolarized due to an influx of dash through open ion channel that are gated by. The receptors, yeah, sodium and calcium and CGMP. We have discussed this in the last week. For refractive power of lens to increase by a degree of 15 diopters, the shape of the lens should change from increase in 15 diopters. So how the shape of the lens should be? Answer is D. So answer is like it should be convex to convex, right? Because the sign is here plus. So if the sign is plus or negative, we can then only we can say what is happening. Plus means it should be a converging lens, and minus should be should be a diverging lens, right? So this hyperopia is actually achieved by converging lens. Whenever there is a converging lens, which means that converging or convex lens means, so plus sign indicates converging lenses. So they are telling there is an increase in 15 diopters, which means that the lens should be convex to very convex. Any doubt? Did you understand why it came like this? So it should be convex and it should be like increases to convex only because plus sign is increasing. If there was a minus sign and it was a decreasing, then we could have checked. So due to the just check the sign and try to answer it. Did you got it, Arya?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So that is about the last week solution also. One more question was there. Night blindness is caused by loss of vitamin A, which leads to a decrease in. Vitamin A is related to what? Yeah, retinal, right? Rhodopsin, we said rhodopsin will dissociate to two component, retinal plus opsin. So retinal is the vitamin A. So last week we discussed the earlier assignment solution also. Now we have completed all the assignment solution discussion up to ninth week. So next week we will again discuss 10th week solution. After it, the solution will releases. So go back and listen to the lectures again and start answering the assignment question. We can actually do one more thing. We'll go through the question, the assignment activity question. Let me open the tab. Questions are visible, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So what is the first question? Why different species of living organism have different numbers of chambers of heart? How does chambers affect the heart function? It's interesting question, right? If you are checking the birds and reptiles and we have four chambers, then they have only three chambers. Why? What is the need of this much chambers? What will be the advantage? Any idea?
Prevent the mixing of blood.
Good.
To prevent the mixing of the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood.
Yeah, very good. And also a number of more chambers with the that much efficient will be the system. since our body is comparatively larger than others, right? So whatever the metabolic activities that is happening inside our body, the amount of oxygen taken in and CO2 releases, everything varies. So we need some more advanced system, and number of higher the number of chambers means higher will be the efficiency of pumping of the heart and the oxygen transmission also. So that's why the four chambers is needed for us. Then second question is cockroach have around 16 hearts. What does that signify? What is the use of so many hearts? What is the use of so many hearts? What is the 16 hearts? Did they have really 16 hearts?
No, it is they have an open system of blood circulation.
Yeah, so they have 16 chambers. So each chamber is called as heart. Generally, it's like if you are checking some other, they you can see 13. So I don't know 13 or 16 is the correct answer, but they have that much like number of thing. It's not like a proper heart. They have open system of circulation. That's why they needs to enough like efficient pumping system. So each that thing is just considered as heart. That's why it's called as heart. Okay. Now next activity question is, yeah, why conduction system of heart or heart rhythm is involuntary and not controlled by the brain? We discussed this, right? Why?
Because of the pacemaker cells.
Huh. Because conduction system needs to be there in the heart. Heart is not like heart. Blood pumping cannot be like stopped, right? It should be a very spontaneous process. So in order to give an adaptation to that, conduction system have its own mechanism. So if we calculate the resonance frequency of heart, what we can use it for? Frequency. So usually resonance frequency of heart is generally helpful in determining the how efficient is heart pumping. Then so if you're just going and checking ECG, we cannot tell heart pumping is efficient or not. So for checking the efficiency of heart pumping and how well heart is coordinated with the lungs and the purifying of blood is happening. In order to know all these things, we can actually use the resonance frequency. Okay. Next is, now we can say, right, cardiac, neuron versus skeletal muscle. Which is faster among these three?
Cardiac cells.
Neurons, I think some neurons even have 2 milliseconds. Then cardiac cells are 2 to 3 milliseconds. So they are like coming in a like close range. But which is the slowest? Oh, sorry, you said cardiac
Skeletal
cell.
muscle. Yes, ma'am.
Earlier you were saying in cardiac cell, what was the time? Just before some time, I guess. Where is the latent period is coming in cardiac cells or skeletal cells?
Cardiac cells.
So cardiac cells, if there is a latent period, time will be.
More.
Oh, I asked the question, what is taking more time? Yeah, yeah. Correct answer is cardiac. So, then what is the major differences other than the time? Faster will be in neuron, followed by in skeletal muscle. Slowest will be in cardiac cell. Okay, agreed. But what are the other differences? We can say about the latent period also. And also in the fifth week, he actually showed one slide which says the differences between cardiac cell versus skeletal muscle. So that will be also helpful in saying. And the another major difference is definitely the CA2 plus involvement in the cardiac cell. So keep this point in mind. Okay. Next is, we usually relate calcium deficiency with bone strength. How much of a calcium deficiency would start to affect our heart? Definitely, right? Calcium is much required for this process, also maintaining the rest phase of the muscles, cardiac muscles. So, if calcium is deficient, which means it will definitely affect the heart activity. Also, it can lead to blood pressure, then associated disorders. Now, the question is, yeah, fourth week. Heart is basically like a mechanical pump only, right? Whenever it pump works, blood will flows from one place to another. So basically, heart is a we can consider it as a pump. Pfizer system a closed circuit. Are there any example of open circuit system? Do you know any example of open circuit system? You already told, I think, man.
The cockroach.
Yeah, insect. They have the open circuit system. So what is the need of we to have closed?
We have cells more than the insects, so that should be
Huh.
preserved.
Yeah, because the complexity of organism is there, we should have the higher efficient mechanism to do that. Now, um, this is the last week, right? Yeah. What is Eindhoven's triangle? It's basically a so whenever we do the ECG, right? We have you seen we are connecting some electrical nodes to the body. So basically, Eindhoven's triangle is a it's a electrical node connecting to two shoulder ends and one to the like the end of the leg. So basically, if we are checking the position, it will be like a inverted equilateral triangle. So what is the need for that? This is actually helpful in finding out whether we have fixed the electrical nodes at the correct position or not. So this is actually found out by the that scientist named Eindhoven. So that's why it is called as Eindhoven's triangle. How is lie detector test different from or similar to EKG? That is also basically the transmitting in the electrical waves, right? Then we are checking as the person is saying yes or based on the respondent time to whatever we are asking. So we can say similarly, it's like just the detection method or the activity they are checking is similar. But and I don't know about more about detail about the lie detector. Okay, so that's about last week. So almost done with 10-week lectures. Now only 2 more weeks left. After that, you guys can prepare for exam.
Ma'am, what's the use of the calcium channel blockers?
Calcium channels blockers in where
In heart-related diseases, we do administer calcium channel blocker drugs. So, what's the use of that?
now you can say right. What is the use?
Yeah, it is to block the calcium channels to
Yeah.
adjust the contractions, but
If we
how
block
will
the
it exceed?
okay.
It can be
So
deficient, but how will it exceed?
like I don't know which type of disorder they use calcium channel blockers. Uh, like can you say which type of disorders usually use?
Uh, because of hypertensions.
Okay. So if they are using high for hypertension, which means that there should be some blood pumping is not happening properly, right? So if blood pumping is not properly happening, if we are blocking the calcium channels, what will happen? Latent phase will be. Okay, can I go back and check and tell you in the next week?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, definitely I will go and check and we'll discuss it in the next week. Saturday.
Okay, ma'am.
Sure.
And what about the exam pattern? Will it be MCQs
Okay,
or
I asked
discussion?
them actually in the last week. So they texted me that the I think 1 week before the exam, there will be they will explain how the pattern, everything in the announcement page of the classroom.
Okay.
So then only we get to know.
Okay.
Okay, then bye. See you next week.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye. Take care.